Well, everybody, it is good to actually see a few people. Welcome to the Morning Cheer broadcast live on Facebook and YouTube and at Sandy Cove for the first time that we've been able to do this. I'm super hyper conscious because we put this logo up and I sat right in the middle, which covers up the most important part that our logo is Jesus never fails, but I keep my head over top of the never. So if I'm swiveling, it's just simply to make the point that in fact Jesus never fails, and the logo's still there even though my head's in the way sometimes. So if you see me moving a lot, that's part of it. We're excited to be able to do this and come live to you for those of you who can't be here, and for those that are able to be here, to open up the auditorium that you can kind of play along with us on our live broadcast. You will see here what I see, but right inside of the whole thing is what everybody out there is looking at on YouTube and Facebook. We were doing Monday nights at 8:30 as kind of the morning cheer broadcast, and that was very strategic in my life because I was doing it in my 30 is about when my kids are in bed, and so that's why we had morning cheer Mondays at 8:30. But now that we're doing it live here on property, we thought, you know what, let's go ahead and do it at 12:30. I'm going to be on Mondays at 12:30, and then on Thursday, Andrea is doing midday with Andrea, and that'll be Thursdays at 12:30 as well. So be sure to check back here, Facebook Live, YouTube Live. She'll be on both those platforms as well, sometimes with live guests here in the auditorium, and sometimes she'll be visiting with those who are digital. For those who might be tuning in or just found us and don't know about our history, this actually comes back a little bit to where things started for us. Morning Cheer broadcast, the radio broadcast, is actually what launched the ministry here of Sandy Cove, which now we come together and spend time on the property here in Northeast Maryland. But probably more than 80-something years ago, Dr. Palmer, our founder, was on the radio in the Philadelphia area every morning encouraging people. And so we've kind of come full circle because COVID dealt us a card that said, March 13th, you can't be here. And so from March 13th to June 19th, we were not on property, but we were still feeling the need to be with our people. And so we tried to connect this way. And so it's been a good opportunity for us to connect virtually in this season. So we've been open since June 19th. We've had different levels of people here throughout the weeks. Right now would have been Family Camp Week 3, the first day of Family Camp Week 3. And we gave people that were planning on coming the option to either come and experience our power boost and or to just push to next year. Many people said, we'll give it another go next year. And then some people said, you know what, we'll try it this year and next year. And so they're making the best of it. We are basically running, I would describe it as a hotel with amenities. We've got some things that you can do. But the reality is a lot of what we do during a normal family camp is not accomplished through any kind of social distancing, and so that was the challenge that we had. The other thing that we're getting to do, we're really excited about, and is filling up really well, is the Marsh Day Camp that happens down the hill in the Pioneer Campground. They're doing well. It serves the Cecil County greater area here in the community, so we're getting to do that. And we still have space. We're going to be doing this kind of power boost model from now until the end of summer. And so if you want to call in, book, go online, we'd love to have you with us to experience this and have fun with us. But what I've been doing is trying to connect with people who are friends of the ministry, those who have had different roles. And I was excited to kind of get our calendars to line up to introduce you to one of our really good friends who has been here several times, a lot of different capacities, and has been a speaker here on the platform. Usually stands where I'm sitting and delivers a word with his amazing wife. And so they usually come during week 1, which is our kind of homeschool emphasis, homeschool week. And so for that audience, those people are going to know the name Joe Holman very well, but many of you probably do. I'm going to go ahead and bring him into the broadcast and let him do a better job of introducing himself than I can. So Joe, welcome to the Morning Cheer broadcast.
Hey, good to be here, man. Good to finally hook up.
Yes, thank you for making this work. If you could, for those who are watching who might not be from Sandy Cove's homeschool week, that kind of go like, why Joe? Give us kind of like your best snapshot bio. What do we need to know about you?
Okay. Well, actually, as you said, we have history. We first started going to Sandy Cove in 2001. And then after being there in 2001 for probably, I think 2004, I joined the Sandy Cove board until we moved in 2007 to Bolivia. and we are now full-time missionaries living in the Andes Mountains in Cochabamba, Bolivia. Like I said, we've been there now for almost 14 years, and married this week. The July 21st, I'll celebrate my 36th year of marriage with my wife, and we have 11 kids. That's been a snapshot. That's our claim to fame. My wife put up with me for 36 years, and we have 11 kids. So
yeah, that's amazing. Well, I appreciate you being here and doing this. Now, you are coming to us. Where are you right now? You're not in Cochabamba.
Right now, no, right now. Although I still have my quarantine haircut going. I haven't had a haircut since February. But anyway, we've been in Bolivia until we've been back in the States now for 4 days. In Bolivia, we're under full quarantine. It's not like what the stay-at-home orders are. Even though you guys in the States use the word quarantine, it's pretty much, we've cracked jokes about it. We've said, here's what my kids experience. You guys don't do anything you don't want to do. Right. I'm like, okay, that's not really a quarantine. Since March 16th in Bolivia, we've been locked in our home, only allowed out by a national ID card. I could leave 1 day a week on Monday mornings for 4 hours. So I'd walk 3.5 miles to the grocery store, buy a week's worth of groceries, no driving, and then walk back with the groceries. So we've been under lock and key pretty much. And am I breaking up on your end? I'm breaking up in my thing. We good?
We're hearing it fine here.
Okay, cool. That's fine. So we've been under quarantine. The quarantine's still going on. COVID right now, per capita, Bolivia is the worst place in Latin America. It might be the worst place in the world, but the worst place in Latin America per capita. No health care. People, it's really bad. So we're locked up for that. In September, they're having another election, presidential election, and it's a replacement election because the last one was declared fraud. There was a lot of violence and rioting, and so we know we're going to be locked up again for that. And we're like, we're just, when we say locked up, we're literally can't leave your house. So we're going, okay, well, we might as well go back to the States. And we're in Florida right now. We have a house in Florida that we usually rent out to people going to Disney. Well, Disney's closed, so the house is empty. So that's where we're at. We got here, as I said, we got here 4 days ago.
And so will you be 14 days as kind of your true quarantine before you're kind of allowed out to mingle?
Yeah. What we're doing is we self-quarantine ourselves. We signed a thing. We didn't sign a thing saying we had to, but that we were willing to. And we're choosing, especially with the kids and stuff, if something happened, we're very careful. But if something happened, we would hate to give COVID to anybody. So we've chosen, the day before we left, my wife went online and ordered $500 worth of groceries for pickup. And we got here, slept like 5 hours, went and picked up the groceries, brought them back, and haven't left since then. And we don't plan on leaving. But then even because of our experience with COVID in Bolivia, and I know probably 35, 40 people that have gotten it and maybe 7 that have died. And right now in Bolivia, we work with pastors. Over 60 pastors in Bolivia have it. And so we don't share the view that it's not a big deal that a lot of people share because of our experience. Sure. And so even after quarantine, we're pretty much not going to do anything. Sure. It's just nicer to not do it here than there.
Yeah, no, I get that. So I'm curious to learn a little bit about, a lot of churches here in the States and ministries like ourselves, you go, okay, we can't be open. We can't have church services. We'll just pivot. We'll go digital. We'll do Zoom meetings. We'll do small groups. We'll do Sundays this way and yada, yada. Is that pivot even an option for you when you're in, what's the pivot for ministry been there in Bolivia?
Culturally speaking, it's weird because we did that. My church in Bolivia that I pastor, I'm a teaching elder at the church. We did our Sunday morning service through Zoom and FaceTime. And then we also had 2 different Bible studies during the week. But the difference is this, speaking sociologically, America is an individualistic country. We pride ourselves, we're individuals. We do what we do. I do me. Other countries, like Bolivia, are community cultures. And so in America, you're happy to watch a sermon online and to take notes and learn one more truth about the Bible. In other countries, community is the purpose.
Right.
And you learn Bible. But community is the purpose. So it's not near as effective. We are doing it. We're offering people the opportunity to participate in a lesson. But community-based cultures are struggling way more than normal.
Yeah, no, I think that it definitely shows that these connections, like it's good to see you, it's good to talk to you and have this, but it's not the same thing as you being here and us having lunch together.
Absolutely, absolutely.
There just really is no trade when you kind of look at it through that context. So that I was curious about that, because I know here and as you make your point, and I'm feeling it even personally with our household. I've got 2 really young ones. The fact that we're not racing out of the house on a Sunday morning for this big kind of show and performance that we call church, it's kind of really convenient to kind of like leave everybody in their pajamas and throw it up on the TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's me living through an American lens that is pretty individualistic, where I am recognizing, like I miss the community, but I'm kind of getting the itch scratched by seeing, and to be honest with you, like on any given Sunday, I'm at 3 different churches, one in North Carolina, one in Miami, and one that I actually would attend if it was not COVID related. So it is very much, I would love to condemn Western culture, except for I'm really good at it. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and it's funny because I think some people are starting to experience that need for community. Even my children, when we came back here, for all intents and purposes, it was the first time they had been outside in 116 days.
Wow.
And so, you start missing people. You miss that social. God wired us to be together. And you can patch that up with electronics for a while, but we need each other.
Yeah.
And you miss that.
Yeah, no, I remember, when we went into it, it was like we went into a for I was probably working from home for about a month. And once it kind of cleared a little bit, where it's like, okay, if it's just me in my car to the office, which was here in a building that was completely empty for a month, it was like, well, that's safe too. So there was a little bit of sanity in coming out and just seeing other people's faces, not through Zoom. And it just is. It's just different. What would you say along with that kind of lesson? What are some of the lessons you feel like you and your family are kind of learning in this COVID situation where we find ourselves? What do you feel like God's been revealing to you all?
That's a big one. We need each other. And then also to watch for God working. Let me give you an example. Because even though we've been under quarantine, we serve and work with extremely poor people, impoverished. One of the things we do is we build homes for homeless people. We have a construction ministry. We do dental and medical ministry, and we go to these impoverished areas. Well, we talk about in the States how, hey, we got to get the economy back open. I need to get a haircut. I want to go out and eat. I want to go to the movies. Well, the people we work with, they're day laborers. They work Monday, they get paid Monday night or Tuesday. They work Tuesday, they get paid Tuesday night or Wednesday. They make $2 an hour, and they're dirt poor. They go without working, they starve to death. And I mentioned on Facebook one time on social media, this is 3 months ago, I mentioned the thing about the day laborers and how in the Bible it says to not withhold the pay of the day laborers because they depend on it. And I said, the COVID economy shutdown isn't keeping these people from getting a haircut. It's keeping them from living.
Yeah.
And then somebody contacted me and they said, hey, if we were to send you money, could you buy food for these people? Well, we have a really big network because we work with a lot of doctors and a lot of medical clinics and so with Compassion International. And I found out that you realize we can't drive. No cars are allowed on the streets. It's walking only, and only one day a week for 4 hours. Well, doctors have permission to drive. And so we connected with some doctors and they said, yeah, we will deliver food for you. So I said, hey, if you guys send us money, then we can buy food for these people and they won't starve. And for 3 months, we have fed 2,000 people.
Wow.
And that's totally God working. It wasn't us. I didn't even initiate it. I just said, man, this is bad what these guys are going through. And somebody said, can I give you money? And I said, yes. And then they said, why don't you use social media and tell us how to give you money? And I said, okay, so no fundraising. I said, okay, well, here's my ministry, my mission agency. You can send money to them and just let me know that you're doing it. And boom, money started coming in. And we right now are feeding 200, 300, around 350 kids a week, just children.
Wow.
And that's when I said, just watch God working, because you're going, okay, what my usual ministry, what I usually do, I can't do. I had to cancel teams. We had to cancel evangelistic crusades. We had to cancel this medical campaign we were doing. This stinks. And God said, but
right,
I can use you and I can use the body of Christ and I can keep people alive.
Yeah, you know? That's amazing. I think one of the things that the church and ministers and people of faith, and for us, we've talked a lot about it in our context, is to realize while there's a long list of what you can't do right now, but there's still a really long list of what you can do. And there's a lot of opportunity inside of this. And so as a ministry for us, we go, okay, we're inundated with the news. This is what you can't do. This is what you can't do. But for us, we then look and go, what can we do? What's still available, or what's new that we were missing because we were doing these other things? And so that's really encouraging to hear that you're able to kind of piece together and see the need and creatively solve it because of all the connect points that you all have there.
Right. Right.
So now you talked a little bit about the election that's coming up. And so give us a little bit of what impact does that have? Because obviously, I'm sure because you have social media, you know that politics is kind of a thing over here, right? But I'm assuming, is that what's the situation like in back down in Colombia?
Horrible.
Bolivia.
Yeah. It's horrible. What happened last year in October, we had presidential elections, and America needs to realize something. We've talked to our kids a lot about this. The peaceful transition of power is a really big deal. You know, to have one political party, one person in office, and for them to say, you won, now it's yours. That's a big deal. Well, our president, Evo Morales, in Bolivia, the Constitution says the president can have 2 5-year terms. He was running for his 4th.
Wow.
And illegally, he tried to amend the Constitution and wasn't able to. And then he said he had the right to run anyway because the people wanted him to. Then he ran, and you know they have the multinational watch committee that examines elections. Well, he was proven to be cheating, and he denied it. And then what happened is a huge protest, nationwide protest. The country was shut down. A lot of people were killed. We actually, about a month, it lasted like 3 months, I believe. About a month into it, you couldn't leave your house. Once more, we're hunkered down inside the house. We have everybody has walls in front of their house. We're not leaving that. We'd stocked up on food and water because we saw it coming. we ended up with all the blockades and stuff. We walked to the airport. We got a flight out. We said no longer. We don't know how long it's going to be here. They're on the brink of war. We don't know how bad it's going to be. We're not doing any ministry. We're just staying safe. Let's go ahead. Once more, we were going to come back in November and December for Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's October. We're like, we'll go ahead and go back now. And so we walked 7.5 miles to the airport because you couldn't drive, and left the country. Well, the president fled the country. Now there's a warrant for his arrest. His party is still saying that President Trump backed a political coup and threw him out of office. The interim president, who now has COVID with 3 members of her cabinet, has been in office, and with COVID and stuff, they keep postponing the election. Well, the election, they said they're going to have it on September 6th, and it's going to be worse than last time. So you can pray for Bolivia. It's extremely divided, and no matter which side wins, the other side will believe that they were cheated and that they're fighting for democracy. So no matter which side wins, the other side's going to say, democracy lost, we have to fight for democracy. And so it's not going to be pretty. If it's not worse than last time, which was, we've been there 14 years, and it's the worst we've ever seen it. Like I say, we actually had to walk to the airport with backpacks on. And I'll be surprised. People are already saying that it's going to be worse, and they're already campaigning. You'll love this. You'll love this, Stephen. You know, you have all these conspiracy theories.
Sure.
And like, you know, it's a hoax to get President Trump out of the office, and it's not this bad, and the liberal media is just spreading the panic. And well, our conspiracy theory, this is what they say in Bolivia. President Trump and China made the virus in order to kill poor people so that the capitalists could take over, and that the virus was sent, it's not as bad as they say, and it was sent to Bolivia by President Trump to kill socialists.
Oh.
So that's the truth right there. What you believe is conspiracy. That's the truth. And I look at that and I'm like, it's amazing. And here's the thing, just like people in the States believe these conspiracy theories that you go, you really believe that? They really believe that.
Sure.
That the United States is trying to kill poor people so that the capitalists can take over and President Trump can run them from behind the, or it's, you just go.
Yeah, it sounds like everything there is just amplified. But so in our house, we don't have cable TV. We just do everything kind of on demand digitally. So it limits what we see for good and for bad. Well, we went and spent time with some family, and they have cable. And so they had cable news run, watch it, and you're like, oh, that's where the people that are posting these things online are getting fed some of these storylines. But there is that moment where you're like, oh, like you really believe that. And I think it's been hard because no matter what the topic, I saw an article a couple weeks ago, was forwarded to me. I think it was in the New York Times, that basically said, you know, our culture is going through 5 crises all at once, and we weren't ready for one. Right. And it really is interesting if you participate in social media to see where it's starting to reveal a lot about all of us. Yeah. Where you land, what you'll buy, what you'll sell, what you'll promote, and it's a challenging time. Inside of the challenge, what do you see as? I guess I'll ask it really broad, and you can answer however. Like, what do you see as the path forward? Like, where's the opportunity? Where does hope lie, kind of in the next few months as you kind of are navigating?
You know, for me personally, you know, we're here and we're just going to say, okay, we're going to be with our family. You know, since you live on another continent, you got children and grandchildren and I have 2 grandkids going to be born in the time frame we're here. We're just going to take a rest and say, okay, we do that. Now, as far as Christians go, what I really see is, in all honesty, if we would become humble servants and seek for ways, there's 2 things in my mind that jump out: ways to serve other people. And understand me, I love America, but instead of demanding for my rights, I have the right to this, the right to this, the right to this. What if we said I have the right to serve? And then also, the gospel's the answer. And you see, one virus that you can't even see without a microscope. I mean, it's so small that and look what it's done to the world, and look at the mortality, and the gospel's the answer. The people don't need just to be healthy, they need to be saved. And then we can help with the other thing. If we Christians would just say, you know something, we're going to love our neighbor as ourselves. We're going to humbly look for ways to serve. We're going to let people know there is a hope. There's a hope that transcends racism or injustice or pandemics. There's a hope that transcends the fragile infrastructure of even the most powerful country in the world. There's this hope, and that hope is for this world and the next one to come, and it's Christ. And it's if we would, I think, use this as a platform to let people know, man, like the Bible says, the kingdoms of this world be shaken. Look at what's happened to America in 6 months because of a virus, and or if you want to say mishandling of the virus. It just shows how fragile the most powerful man-made system is.
Yeah, I've said quite often that inside of the pandemic, COVID has revealed and amplified it's kind of caused anything. And so all of what we're seeing inside of our culture, it was there. It just got exposed, right?
Yeah.
And so all the things you list off, I go, yeah, that's been true for way longer than we wanted to admit, but we just built some really nice, comfortable pillow cushions to cover up the mess, right?
Yes.
I also think it's important, as you mentioned it, there's 2 stories that come to mind. One was another speaker. I don't know, were you ever here when Steve Cornell was here? He was the pastor of Millersville Bible Church.
No.
We used to do a class. I went to Millersville for a while, and he used to do a class called Dating, Engagement, and Marriage. Very popular class. I thought it was a precursor to eHarmony. I thought it for sure would work. It didn't. But one of the things he tells in that class is this story. He said, I started this class because I hate doing marriage counseling. People come in and they're frustrated and they go, I can't, I'm done. I've fallen out of love. And he says, generally, I give this advice if it's one partner coming in saying that guy or this woman. He goes, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go home and for 6 weeks without comment, without fanfare, I want you to just serve. Do everything you can to serve your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And in 6 weeks, you still want, I'll walk you through the process. And he goes, they just don't come back. And I think it is that illustration that goes, the solution really is in serving, that our that behavior changes us. And I think that we have plenty of opportunities for that. Again, there's a lot on that can-do list that we could probably get a lot further if we would just kind of bump up the service opportunities and to recognize that is the gospel, right? That the gospel inherently has a love your neighbor as yourself element that I think the Western American church is kind of maybe taken the gospel and made it a little too individualistic. It's my salvation, my relationship, my comfort. Did the sermon serve me? Did they do the song I like? The list goes on and on. That's not conviction for that. That's confession. That's me going through the list of what goes through my mind on any given Sunday, right?
Right.
But no, I think that is the opportunity that we have inside of this time to recognize that there is hope. There is an opportunity to share the gospel, but it's not necessarily Bibles, megaphones, and bashing as much as it is, hey, I'm going to the store. Can I get something for you?
See, that's what I'm saying. Something as simple as that. When we Well, like I said, I could get out on Mondays, and I could. It was 3.5 miles to the store, 7 mile round trip. But just contacting a few people around us and say, "Hey, today's my day. I'm going to the store. Can I bring you some food?" Huge,
Yeah.
huge. Just it's a big deal, and it's like my wife was. If you follow us on social media, the week after the quarantine started, my wife got an abscess tooth, and she had to go 106 days with an abscess tooth.
Shoo.
And so we did like 3 or 4 different. We had dentist friends that would tell us, "Hey, get this medicine, get this. Here's a pain medicine. Here's antibiotics." She did 3 rounds of antibiotics, 10-day rounds. She did anyway, but she was in a lot of pain, and we couldn't leave the house, and we didn't have any pain medicine, and we didn't have any antibiotics. And a friend that lives 2 miles away from my house said, "Today's my day to go out. I'm going to go to the pharmacy, get you guys the medicine, and bring it to you. What's the medicine that you need?" And I think she made a 4-mile round trip on foot after walking to the pharmacy. Now, that's awesome. That's love. That's how can I serve you? And then if she needed something, I guarantee we're right there now, because there's this thing of serving one another. And
Well, I think it needs to. I guess for me, I grew up inside of the church, and I have this thing inside of me that I have to retrain. That goes, that story, that's the gospel.
Mhm.
And for me, there's this little thing that goes, yeah, but it doesn't count. You know what I mean? Like it's not a preacher preaching. You didn't say the word Jesus enough, and you go like, no, like demonstrating the love of God.
Yeah.
Like that's it. That's it. And being able to point back and go like, this is why I do.
Yeah.
And give an answer for the hope that's within you, right? But you have to be living a hopeful life in order to give the answer, right?
Hey, you think about it. All of us have this desire, especially in American culture. We have this desire to be great. We want to be accomplished and achieve, and to be. That's why we like superhero movies. That's when we like, And it's funny because Jesus one time was talking to the apostles, and he said, "Hey, if you want to be great," and you're like, "Hey, that's me. I want to be great." He didn't say, "Don't. You can't want to be great. There's no desire to be great." He said, "If you want to be great, I've got something to say to you." It's okay. What? Serve.
Yep.
So if we want to be great, which I do, serve.
Yeah.
And it's that simple.
Yeah.
And so, that's where I see if the church could learn from this going forward, it would be people need Christ. They need him. And we can proclaim him through acts of service, humble service, and proclamation of the gospel. Not just I'm doing this, but then that bridge, this is why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Because as we've seen the world come crashing down with the little virus, the gospel didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people need.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's a good word. Hey, if people do want to kind of stay in contact or follow you, what's the best ways to kind of stay in contact with you and your ministries through social and other things? Well,
I'm old, so I still use Facebook. So Joe Holman on Facebook, just Joe Holman. And then if you want to send me an email, I serve in Bolivia, and my email address is bolivianjoe@gmail.com. And you can contact me anyway that way. If you want to, I'm actually today going to start doing a newsletter. I send out 2 to 3 newsletters a year through the mail, and I'm going to do one and send one out today. Or I won't send it out today. I'm going to start working on it today. I'll send it out next week. So if you want to send me an email, I'll put you on the newsletter list, or through social media, Joe Holman. Either way. So.
Very good. Well, hey, I can't thank you enough for making time for us. I realize, as you said earlier, you're a captive audience because you can't go anywhere, but you still have other things you could be doing.
Yeah, my schedule was so busy. I had to clear everything for this. I couldn't even get another glass of water.
Well, grateful for all the time that you've spent here doing ministry and all the ministry that you've done abroad, and just appreciate your heart and your willingness to share with us today. And I know that there's got to be others who've been encouraged, but I've been encouraged by our time together. And so thanks for making some time with us today.
All
Very
right.
good. Well,
Thanks
we
for
do look
having me.
forward to actually having a meal together and being in person. So
And
whenever
you're buying, right? You're
I will
buying.
buy. I will buy.
Okay. All right. Well, then count it in. I'm a missionary.
Very good. All right. Well, we appreciate you being with us here, Joe. I'm sure everyone has enjoyed having you with us. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to try to, for the next probably 2 or 3 weeks, be here 12:30 on Mondays. We'll kind of give some warning on that. And we'll bring in some of the people that have been friends of our ministry to have conversations like this and for you to be encouraged. Thank you for tuning in, whether it was here live or whether you catch a rebroadcast. And look for on Thursday at 12:30, grab your lunch and be ready, midday with Andrea. She'll be here and be on the Facebook Live as well as YouTube Live in both those platforms on Thursday. So look forward to you. And as you can see behind me, as I make sure to not cover up the most important part, Jesus never fails. Thanks for being with you, and God bless.